Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm going to give everybody a couple of minutes just to jump on, make sure you can see us, hear us, grab a cup of tea, grab a cup of coffee, grab a glass of wine, depending on what takes your fancy before 11 o'clock, before 12 o'clock even. If you're jumping on, at the bottom of the screen, you should see a chat box. If you can put something in there, just say hello, where you're from, make sure you can see us, hear us. We are not expecting any problems today, but it's always nice to know that we're not just talking to ourselves on these things. Rachel, hello. Vidan, great. Okay, so there's at least 3 or 4 of us, which is a good start. So Harriet, Sarah, okay, great. So we're on, which is a good start. I did do one once actually where I got going and then realised about 4 minutes in I hadn't actually clicked the live button, which was interesting. It was the best 4 minutes of presenting in my life and nobody got to hear it, but there we go. Okay, everybody seems to be jumping on, great. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get started, and I'm going to hand over to Anthony today, who's going to do a much better job at introducing J&C solutions than I will. So I'm not going to take that away from him and Jay, but just a bit of housekeeping in general. So thanks for jumping on today. So this is a webinar we're doing in conjunction with J&C and XU Magazine, and because it's with XU, everything is CPD accredited. So make sure you're keeping this webinar noted for your CPD record. And if you've got any colleagues that need to top up the CPD record, make sure they get the link to a copy of this to watch it afterwards as well, which is a little bonus for everybody. On that, the webinar is recorded today. So make sure if you've got anybody who you knew wanted to jump on and they've missed it, they'll get a recording through. If you've got anybody else in your office, any colleagues or anything like that who couldn't make it today and you think this is worthwhile, please send them the link through. We're going to do an email afterwards out to everybody with a link to the webinar recording. So if you want to go back and watch it again, if you get the Amazon person knocking at the door halfway through to go and collect your box of whatever it is, and you miss a little bit, you can go back and pick it up. So don't worry, it's all recorded. As well, and any useful links that the team have got today for you and follow-ups we'll be sending out in that webinar as well. So thanks for the good mornings, everybody. It's nice to know everything's working. In that chat box that you have been using as we're going throughout today, if you've got any questions or anything, please just put them in there. We may pick up a couple as we go along if it's relevant, but we have got a Q&A section at the end today, so we've got everything as well. So thanks, Nick. So when David goes, is he a David Hasselhoff? Very good. So I see we're setting the tone for the webinar already today. So and I am actually about to go off, so I'm going to do a Hasselhoff and hand over to Anthony now, who's going to introduce J&C and the webinar for today. Over to you, Anthony.
Excellent. Thanks, David. Thanks very much for the introduction there. Hi, everyone. Thank you all for joining us. So today we are going to be talking about the construction manager for Xero product from J&C Solutions. Today, hosting today is myself, Anthony Edwards. I head up the pre-sales or product specialist team here at J&C, and with me to show you the product is Jay. Jay is one of our leading pre-sales consultants, and as I say, I'll hand over to him in just a few moments. Just to begin though, we're just going to set the scene a little bit and give you a bit of an introduction to who J&C are and what we do. So we'll talk a little bit about that, just a few slides to set the scene a bit before I hand over to Jay to provide that demonstration. And as David mentioned, we'll circle around and pick up any questions at the end, of course. So first of all, who are J&C and what do we do? So first of all, at J&C, we develop software specifically for the construction, contracting, house building, and also maintenance industries. We have the largest customer base in our sector within the UK and Ireland. We're actually the fastest growing company within our sector. We're adding over 300 companies per year. It's not meant to be boastful, just to give you a bit of an idea of who we are, the size of the company, and just give you a bit of assurance that we're here to support you and your clients, really. In terms of our solutions, we do provide a full project lifecycle management solution. So we can provide systems that help your clients with their estimating processes or quotations to their clients. We can help them with their job costing once they've won the job and help with the commercial management. And also we can help with maintenance jobs as well, both reactive and planned maintenance. And that's just a range of our solutions across the product portfolio. We do integrate, of course, with leading accounting solutions such as Xero, hence why we're here today. But what does that actually mean to the end user, and how do we help the end user effectively? Well, we're going to talk today about the construction manager system. And this is a perfect example of how our solutions work. So we essentially provide front-end solutions to accountancy packages. And those front-end solutions are designed to help remove manual spreadsheets, manual processes, and disparate or non-integrated systems. So essentially what we're looking to do here is to help remove duplication, streamline processes, and also to ensure compliance across the construction industry. Compliance with items such as CIS tax, reverse charge VAT, and so on. Our solutions essentially, and especially the construction manager system that we're talking about today, they will help your clients to track costs against budgets and receive automated alerts if there are any overspends on their projects. So essentially, they will never go over budget on a project without knowing about it first. Once we have all of that information in, we can then generate real-time reports so we can track up to the minute profitability, cost control, and so on, work in progress, and so on all of their projects. Our solutions are fully cloud-based, as you would expect, so web-enabled, can be accessed anywhere on any device, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we go through. Now, just before we actually talk about the product, I just want to talk a little bit about the partner program that we have here at JNC. So we've introduced the partner program to essentially make it very easy for accountants, bookkeepers, and resellers to make referrals to us. Our partner program has a 3-tiered system. So depending on the solution provided to your client, it depends on essentially the tier that you would fit into. As part of the program, we can provide you with free access to the software. So you can access your client's data if needed. Particularly useful if you're an accountant or bookkeeper who needs to enter data or generate reports on behalf of your client. You don't need to ask them for a login, don't need to go to their office. You can do it from wherever you are through, obviously, our web browser. We do also provide free webinars and training and roadshows so you can keep up to speed and abreast of the new functionality that we release every single month for our solutions. Should you make a referral that goes to a sale, we do provide commission on those sales. A lot of our partners actually transfer that commission into a discount for their client, of course, just to add an extra bit of value for your clients. And if you do have a base of clients already within the construction, contracting, house building, or indeed maintenance industries, and you would like to promote our solutions to your clients, then we can help you with some branded content to help with that as well, of course. Now, but what does that mean to you? So I just want to talk a little bit about the benefits to our partners with that program. So first of all, we'd like to feel that our partner program will help to add some value to your business as well as your clients. And first of all, we like to believe that that will help you to essentially demonstrate credibility within the industries that we work. So you can essentially be seen as the go-to partner within the construction and maintenance industries. We will help you to attract and retain clients specifically within our industries as well. So we do find that when companies, especially within construction, when their manual processes that they manage outside of generic accounting software, when they become a bit too much, they can start looking elsewhere. And it generally means that they move away from the likes of Xero, for example, because it doesn't provide the solutions that they need. I would like to believe that by removing those processes, providing them with an integrated solution directly into Xero, it just keeps them on their current systems, just adding some extra value in there, and essentially, hopefully, to help you to retain clients as well, of course. We will help you to add extra value to your client's business by helping to remove long-winded and duplicative processes. And of course, as we said, we can provide you full access to the solution as well, so you can log in and use it as you would need to at any time. Our partner program is very low touch. So it's very simple for you to make a referral and hand over to JNC. We can handle the full sales, onboarding and implementation and training process. So in terms of our sales process, we provide an initial sort of element of consultancy just to understand a little bit about your client, their business, what their needs and pains are, what troubles they're experiencing currently. We'll then present the solution back to them, and provided that they go ahead, if they decide to take the leap, then we'll provide them with a full training process, and then they'll be in touch with our onboarding team just to ensure that they're comfortable and happy using the system once they go live. Of course, as we mentioned, we do provide commission based on any sales on the back of those referrals as well. But again, you can pass that on to a discount to your clients as well. So that's a little bit about JNC, what we do in our partner program. Let's talk a little bit about product here. Now, I just want to set the scene before I hand over to Jay and let you know exactly what the Construction Manager solution can do before we start looking into the actual demo of the system. So first of all, Construction Manager, as I mentioned, it's a front-end solution to Xero. It's essentially a job costing system in its simple form. It allows us to set up projects, allows us to set up cost codes against those projects, where we can manage budgets, costs, revenue, and ultimately profitability. We manage the full procurement process by raising orders. That may be a material order, a subcontractor order, a plant hire order, which will essentially create a committed cost against your projects. We can then record the receipt of goods through GRNs or delivery notes, which will transfer committed cost into an accrued cost. We can manage subcontractors, so that will manage compliance for CIS, for reverse charge. It will calculate CIS returns. It will submit those online through HMRC gateways. It will help track insurance policy details and other compliances such as CSCS cards, health and safety documents, and so on. So we can track whether we are transacting with a subcontractor who doesn't have any of these compliances. And the system can even stop you from transacting with these subcontractors. Within the construction industry in the UK, it's very rare that we have a very simple transaction based on an invoice. There's usually a bit of wrangling that goes on before that stage, and that usually comes in the form of an application for payment, followed by a payment certificate. So we manage that full transaction process with subcontractors, automating deductions along the way for retentions, CITB, discounts, and so on. So that full management piece of subcontractors. We also manage direct labour in the form of labour timesheets. Timesheets can, of course, be sent to Xero payroll as well. Or if payroll is managed in a different system or it's outsourced, then we can easily just export those timesheets into Excel and send them to whoever runs the payroll. We can manage all of the sales and client billing process on projects. So likewise with the subcontractors, managing sales with clients within the construction industry, again, is very rarely a simple sales invoice. If it is, we can do that, of course, but more commonly, we can also manage applications for payment or stage payments, which may be managed on a cumulative basis. And we can also, again, manage any retentions that are deducted by our clients, so we know when to chase clients for any money that might have been retained from us. We can then generate reports at a click of a button. Just a few examples here, but we can see the profit and loss on our projects. We can see work in progress at a click of a button. We also have live Excel-based reporting. I'm not going to go into that in too much detail. Jay's going to cover that during the demo today, but it's an excellent way of getting live data connected to Excel out of the system without needing to create manual exports, copy and paste data, reformat data, etc. You can simply create a format or a template within Excel and have that refresh automatically. And finally, you can access our system through a web browser, of course, with it being a cloud-based solution. But for the site teams, there are mobile apps available. So for the actual operatives and guys and girls on site, they are able to raise purchase orders, record receipt of goods, record timesheets, both for subcontractors and direct labour as well. And that's in a much more simplified user interface than it would be during the core system. Very site team friendly, let's say. So that's enough of me and my introduction to JNC and the product. I'm going to hand you over to Jay, and Jay is going to walk you through that. So Jay, over to you, sir. I'm going to stop sharing.
Cheers. No worries at all.
Perfect.
Perfect. Let's share my screen. Perfect. Awesome. So everyone should be able to see the home screen here to Construction Manager. So thanks to Anthony, we can kind of get a gist as to what the software does. So we are going to be looking at Construction Manager today. There's actually three variants, I should say, of Construction Manager. There is sort of the Essentials package, there is the Standard package, and there is the Premium package. They all have sort of different variants or features within each sort of package. But in today's demonstration, I'm going to be showing you the middle package, just because it kind of covers a little bit of sort of both. So like sort of Anthony sort of mentioned, we're going to be looking at sort of the job costing elements, sort of how it would help your clients, but also how it feeds back into Xero as well. But fundamentally, what would usually happen is once you were to sort of acquire the system and help the sort of your clients to sort of adopt this system, is that we will kind of spend some time with them, making sure that they make the most out of the system. But fundamentally, we'll get the integration sorted with their Xero accounts. And what that would include would be bringing across information such as your customers or suppliers, subcontractors, but also things like chart of accounts and tracking options, but also things like tax codes and general sort of VAT codes as well. And when you do that, just to ensure that the guys are basically running from pretty much the get-go and they're able to input data as soon as they sort of get set up on the system. So what I'll do is in terms of sort of the demonstration today, is just a very, very high level overview of each of the core sort of features that Anthony had mentioned in the prior PowerPoint slide. So we're going to be looking at sort of the customers, the suppliers, the subcontractors, the type of information we can capture there, all the way through to sort of creating the projects that the guys may be doing on a sort of day-to-day basis, all the way through to looking at sort of procurement, purchase orders, purchase invoices, then looking at things like labor, so in particular subcontractor management, all the way through to sort of client billing, sales applications, sales invoices, and then we'll look at sort of the job management. So job management would include sort of how the project sits, whether the job's making profit or not, and then to conclude, we'll look at the ICA reporting tool, again, which Anthony mentioned, where we can kind of create our own bespoke live Excel reporting based on the information within Construction Manager. So without further ado, let's pop into our customers here. So like I mentioned, all these customers will be brought across from Xero. The additional benefit of using Construction Manager here is that if I was to create a brand new customer here, all I would need to do is just simply click on new at the top, as you can see here. And all I need to do, so the compulsory fields are the ones that are with a red asterisk, but all I need to do is pop in that information. So company name, company reference, probably not too far-fetched from probably what the clients or people are doing sort of at the moment. Enter that details in alongside perhaps the address details, contact information, etc. Once we fill that information out and we click on save, not only is that a brand new customer in Construction Manager, that's also a brand new customer in Xero as well. So the whole idea and point of Construction Manager is that it's going to be the single point of entry for all sort of job information. There's no duplication. We don't have to use manual disparate systems. All the job information is going to be inputted into Construction Manager. Likewise with suppliers and subcontractors. However, we could just start to put in a little bit more information for these guys here. And what I mean by that is that, again, things like the name, the reference, again, that's more or less very similar. But what we can actually start to do here is that we can start to apply certain skill sets. So if they're proficient in a certain trade, it's easier for the guys to pick up who the sub your supplier is going to be for that job. Likewise with regions, you may want to allocate regions, just again, maybe a bit easier to allocate to the project as well. But fundamentally, what we can do within our system is actually do CIS verifications, subcontractor verifications within the system. As you guys probably already know, we only need the UTR number along with the NI or company reg. Once we've got this here, we click verify and match. We click on yes. And at this point, it's just plug and play. We enter in the subcontractor details. We click on the declarations, hit submit, and that is going to be sent straight to HMRC. You will automatically get the verification number as well as the relevant tax treatment for that subcontractor as well. So they'll know sort of whether it's none, gross, net, or unmatched. Then when it comes to actually sort of generating the invoices, again, because this is pretty much all automated, we'll know what the CIS deduction is going to be. On top of this, we can go pretty much a step further. We can actually track insurances as well. So perhaps they may want to sort of track things like CSCS cards, qualifications, things of that nature. You can input that within the insurance tab like so. You may even want to use it for non-insurance policy reasons as well. Some of our users like to do that, just because for the expiry date, you do get a little notification to say that it's sort of come to an end. So again, could be completely different to an insurance type. You can actually dictate when sort of you get the expiry date pop up, whether it's sort of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days prior. You can just adjust that within the settings. Again, just to sort of add on slightly a bit more information, just sort of how it would help sort of your clients. What the guys can also do is upload attachments specific to certain records as well. So in line with a subcontractor, they may actually want to upload things like CSCS cards or qualifications. And quite simply, all they would need to do, click on upload, drag and drop that from an email, or they can simply click on the box like so, and they can just browse from their device. Again, I don't need to tell you guys as Xero users the benefits of cloud, whether the guys are sort of working out on site, in the office, working from home. As long as they have access to this part of the system, they can just kind of dip in and out, upload, download any bits of information as of when they need to. Again, just to reiterate, once I've filled out this information here, once I click on save, again, brand new subcontractor or supplier within Construction Manager, but that's also a brand new one within our Xero accounts as well. So again, there's no duplication involved. Once we have that information in Construction Manager, we can then start to actually create our projects, our contracts. So from here, we would simply click onto our contracts list, and here the user will be able to view all of their jobs. Quite easily, all they would need to do is click on new to create a brand new one. I'm just going to show you one that I've sort of created earlier. And here is just sort of the front end of the actual project. The main benefit of this page here is that the more information we actually input here, the more we can actually start to filter and report on. And that will come clear as I sort of go through each of the core elements here. So here we've got the job number. Many users, they may be using their own unique references for their job. The benefit of Construction Manager is that they can continue on from this reference, whether it's a unique pattern, a mixture of numbers and letters, or just numbers, they can continue on with that. They've then got their customers they can easily just pick. Again, that's either come from Xero or they've created that within the system. And again, everything's really easy just to find because there is a search engine built in to this as well. They've then got a status so they can apply different statuses onto the project too. And this is also customizable. So if they wish to add in their own statuses, depending on where the project sits during its life cycle, they can also dictate that too. Another nice feature is classification. So again, for these businesses, they may be doing different types of work as a whole, or they may be conducting their work in different sort of areas. So what this classification tab will allow them to do is just group the different types of work that they may do. So as an example here, I've got commercial, industrial, residential, small works. Again, there may be things like demolition, maybe service, groundworks, superstructure, etc. They can basically, again, add in their own classifications. Again, this becomes a bit more nicer when it comes to reporting. They may just want to see how one area of the business is performing, and this will allow them to do so. Below that, we've got a description. Middle part, we've got the contract value. Then over to the right-hand side, we can just start to apply a little bit more information. So what we have is things like the customer order number, when we think the job may be completed, and then we have the actual date completion. And the reason why I'm showing this date completion here is because this is when any retention will be triggered. So what we would do in the software is that we would just tell it when we need to sort of claim it. So under defaults, I would come in and say, great, I can put my retention at, say, 5% for this project. I've got a discount, I'm going to leave that at 0. And then I've got my retention period at 12 months. So that's 12 months from this date here. And then again, another benefit of Construction Manager is that we can actually run a report to see exactly when the retention is due and how much of it is due to be claimed. Again, we'll cover that during the reporting side of Construction Manager. And then lastly, we've simply got Job Analysis and Project Manager. These are just additional tools for the user to, again, just kind of report on. Project Manager, pretty self-explanatory. Who's the PM? They can just pick from the list of employees within the system. And job analysis is kind of user definable. It's entirely up to them in terms of how it may be used. Quite common examples within our user base is that it may be perhaps directors, it may be QSs, estimators. But another new one that we found is that users were using it for where the client or the customer had heard for them. So again, it could be used as like a marketing tool, whether it was from the website, a referral, a repeat job. They can keep a tab of sort of where these customers have been sort of coming from. And again, all these kind of fields here, we can start to report and filter on. From here, we can start to allocate slightly more information. So if they wanted to sort of beef up the project a little bit more, they can. They can add in sort of multiple site addresses onto the actual project, as well as uploading specific attachments to the project as well. And this is a nice nifty feature within the actual job itself, because they may actually want to upload things like perhaps risk assessments, drawings, bill of quants. They may just want to actually create the folders and attach those to the relevant sections within the project. Again, people can kind of just dip in and out. You can give access to this part of the system as well. Additionally, what they will have is the ability to add in notes. So again, the benefit of the notes is that if they've got people working from site, people working in the office, etc., people can kind of just dip in and out, add their own notes just to update sort of what's going on the project. Again, the benefit here is that not only is it name stamped, it's also time stamped as well. So they'll know exactly who's updating what and when it was done to. And then just to sort of finish off regarding the project, what we have is these tenders tab at the top. And what this will allow you to do is just basically create budgets within the project. So historically, they may have been referred to as cost codes, but we can do that within here via our tender references. So once the tenders have been won, or they just want to create a blank budget structure, they'll be able to record those budgets within this tab here. So as an example, I've created a very basic structure, one for cost, one for sales, and I've added one for, say, labor, materials, overhead, plant, and subcontractors. I've added in my reference, which again could be your cost codes, got my cost budget. I can even put in an uplift, but I've also got this cost budget alert ticked. So essentially what this will do is, and what it will tell the software, once we start to assign the relevant costs to these tender references here, if I was to go over budget, the software will actually warn me that I've gone over budget. Then depending on how these sort of the access rights are sort of created, it may prompt a warning to an end user, or you could just simply override it. The benefit of the tender budgets here is that you can go into 3 hierarchical structures. So for example, if I had, say, the contract here, I had costs, but maybe underneath that, I maybe wanted to have materials as its own folder. Then within materials, I may have, say, a list of sort of bricks. So again, you can go into a bit more tiers and provide a bit more of a detailed breakdown. I will say with the premium version of Construction Manager, you can go into 10 hierarchical tiers and you can go a limited sort of downwards, if that makes any sense. And that will allow you to create a far more sort of in-depth budgeting sort of system where you can actually assign it to certain skill sets. You can put in things like net rates and quantities. So again, that's just slightly an upgraded version of sort of what you see here as well. So again, if you feel like your sort of clients of yours may need perhaps an in-depth version of this, or probably need to go into a bit more detail, the premium version will probably do that plus more. From here, we click on save. That's now the project set up within the software. So now what the user can start to do is assign various information to the actual project. So what we're going to be looking at next is procurement. So in particular, say, purchase orders. So again, this is something that they may be doing perhaps sort of outside the software, or they're probably making do within sort of the account system. But what this will allow them to do is just view all of their orders in a nice simple format. So here they can see all of their purchase orders. They can see sort of the numbering system. They can see the details, the job that they've sent it to, but also things like the net VAT, what's been paid and what's outstanding. But in order to create these orders, again, I won't go into sort of too much detail, but it's a very simple process. So what the user would do is they would assign that to a supplier. They can put in a date of order, a delivery date. And what will usually happen throughout the whole software is that there's always 2 references. There's an internal reference and there's an external reference. Again, it doesn't have to be used like that. It can be used for things totally different. But I've popped in my name for the internal, and then for the order reference, I've just popped in demo. But again, that might even be the supplier's reference to them. From here, all we need to do, come into items, and this is where we would build up the actual order. So there's many different ways in which we can do so. We can either just manually type it in, so perhaps some materials, we can allocate that to a job number. But the reason why I wanted to pop into here specifically is because this is how it would correlate back into Xero. So here I've got my nominal code, which would be the chart of accounts that would be set up within the Xero account. So once I click on save and once the invoice comes in, which I'll show in a moment, we would know exactly where it's going to sit within Xero. Again, there's other different ways in which we can create the build-up of these orders too. We can also use a product code box. So for example, here we can just add in different products that the guys may be using on a regular basis, and it will just save them a bit more time to actually having to manually create this. So they can perhaps put in, say, a plasterboard within the product list, give it a cost price, provide it with a code. And the benefit there is that all they would need to do, add in another row, find the product code, perhaps plasterboard, fill that in, and it will just populate it automatically for them. And then just to slightly go into a bit more information, likewise with before, they have the ability to add in notes regarding the actual order. So perhaps there may have been some disputes. They may just need to see a bit more of an update in terms of what's going on the purchase order. They can do so here. Likewise, they can upload attachments to that as well. Another great benefit of Construction Manager is that you can email and print off the order straight within the system. So perhaps we raise this order here. We can click on print and quite easily I can just select on that like so. And that's now going to open up my template. So here, very sort of basic stock layout that I've got here. Another great benefit of Construction Manager is that if the guys have their own sort of layout and their own templates, we can create that for them. So perhaps things like a company logo, footer, header, terms and conditions, we can create that on their behalf. So here's just my sort of basic sort of template for the order. Now, let's just say we've sort of sent that out to the supplier. Another great benefit of Construction Manager is that depending on sort of how the guys may deal with their orders at the moment, we can kind of sort of fit within their workflow. So whether they sort of create or they receive a goods received note, maybe they wanted to achieve three-way matching on their orders, we have the ability to do that. Or even if they wait for the supplier's invoice to land in order to make the payment, we can also go straight to invoicing as well. So as an example, if they wanted to do sort of three-way matching, they can simply click on, say, GRN. This will allow them to basically see what's been received against what was supposed to be delivered. So for example, here, 5 was supposed to be delivered. I can say, great, only 5 has been received out on site. Or the guys may be having a fantastic day, everything's been received out on site. They can just click on receive all, click save, and that will basically update the order. As you can see now, for that order, it's now says it's been complete. So another great benefit is that they can just basically see what's been received compared to what was supposed to be delivered out on site. Fundamentally, once that invoice comes in, all they would need to do is just click on invoice on that order. They'll be greeted by the references that they will just pop in. So before I just did my numbers here, click on continue. Again, let's just pop in the date of invoice. And here they can just view all the information prior to basically clicking on save. The reason why I wanted to show you guys this as well is because we'll have the references from Xero. So what we have here is, again, our job number, job description. We can apply it to a tender. So I can say, great, I want this to be attributed to the materials within the budget. But also we have our tracking options and chart of accounts that correlate back to Xero. Fundamentally, what we also have is the ability to attach the invoice to. Another great benefit is that once they upload this document onto this invoice here, once we click on save, that will also post the document across into Xero as well. But again, I've got this post box marked as yes. So what that means to the user is that as soon as they click on save at this point, oh, forgot to put in the tax code, but as soon as they pop in that there, that will now not only move from a committed cost to an actual cost against their project in terms of job costing, that's now also gone across into Xero as a purchase invoice. So again, they're not putting any information in twice. They've popped in all the information because they've got the relevant tracking options and chart of accounts assigned to that supplier. It's automatically gone into their account system. Similar principle applies to, say, purchase invoices. Again, they may not do orders at all, which is totally fine. They can just pop into purchase invoices and create a brand new invoice from scratch. So for example, again, they can pick on a supplier, pop in a job, let's say good old Grape Street. Do we need to apply it to a budget? If so, we can do that here. Let's put in our nice little reference. We've got our chart of accounts. Again, I've got my one that I created within Xero. And here I can just pop in a description. Again, as you can see, I can't really spell properly today, but let's just pop that in. Great. Still, we've got the ability to upload attachments as well. So again, I can just click on it like so, find the relevant invoice, and I can just attach it to here. So I've got a nice little update there. Again, fundamentally, I've got my post box marked as yes. So again, as soon as I click on save, that will now again attribute the cost against the job. Oh, but it will also post into Xero. But as you can see, I'm on the very basic version of Xero. So I've reached my limit for the amount of invoices. But once that goes across into Xero, if I just highlight my Xero page here, if I just refresh it, here I've got the one for the materials that we just done sort of earlier. And here you can see it's from Travis Perkins, and we're just waiting on making the payment. And again, that's gone straight across. Again, all this sort of similarly applies to certain other areas, things like subcontractors and even sort of client billing. So again, the most fundamental part is getting the tracking options and the chart of accounts set up initially during the onboarding phase of implementing Construction Manager. Where that would sit is that if I was to go into, say, a supplier here, or perhaps a subcontractor, if we come into defaults, again, this is more or less be done sort of during the onboarding time. I've got my nominal code, or which will be the chart of accounts for the subcontractor, as well as the relevant tax code as well. And again, if they need to sort of be sort of catered for reverse VAT, they can just simply click on the back code like so, and then just change the relevant tax code to the reverse VAT tax code. Now, just going into subcontractors now, there's many different ways in which we can kind of deal with subcontractors. The main benefit is that it can match with any workflow that the client may be doing at the moment. So whether it's sort of subcontractor orders through to invoicing or applications, or whether it's a straightforward application or a straightforward invoice or a timesheet, there's many different ways in which a construction manager can handle that within the system. So just as an example, let's just come into a worksheet. I should have one created earlier. So here I can just click on this one. And the idea here is that I can just start to allocate the different sites or the different jobs that the subcontractor has been on, perhaps throughout the day or throughout the week. The benefit also here is that once we sort of create each and individual lines here, we can assign it to see whether it was labor or materials. So again, we can add in as much information here as possible. Once we create that, we'll simply click on save, and that would then allow us to basically post the certificate. But because I've already done that before, it won't allow me to do it again. So I'm just going to pop into certificates to show you sort of how that looks. So once that worksheet's been created, it will then take us to this page here. We've got the subcontractor, the job that they've been working on, the payment date, the payment number, and over to the right-hand side from that worksheet, it would accumulate the different types of work that they've been on throughout the week. Got the total amount, we've got our subtotal, but the users have the ability to also track things like retention that they may be holding against the subcontractor as well. So again, they'll be able to view that information here. They can also adjust the rates at the bottom left-hand side. Fundamentally, again, because we verified the subcontractor within the system, we can see the relevant CIS tax that we need to pay these guys, as well as the VAT. They can quite clearly see their total amount due to pay the subcontractor. They have the relevant tracking options and chart of accounts that correlates back into Xero. And also they'll have the post to accounts tab ticked. So again, as soon as the guys click on save, that's the subcontractor costs allocated to the job, but that's also now gone across into Xero, ready for the guys to make their payment to the subcontractor. Once the guys have made the payment to the subcontractor, in order to do the CIS returns or the verifications again within the system here, all we need to do is just import all of the live payments from Xero. So they would come into payments, click on import, and that will bring across all of the live payments that they've made to the subcontractor. All they will need to do from here on out is simply click on returns, click on OK. They'll be able to view their returns by clicking on new and clicking on OK again, and they can just view them here. Again, I don't have any real ones. This is just demo data, but the guys will be able to see a long list of all of the returns that need to be submitted. Once they see that, they will simply click on save. It will take them back to this page here. And all they would need to do is just highlight the relevant ones that they wish to submit, click on e-submission, and this will then take them to the portal. Again, if they've ever seen sort of the HMRC portal sort of prior to this, it looks very similar. They'll just make sure that the correct month has been assigned, hitting on the declarations, clicking on submit, and that will basically submit the CIS returns straight to HMRC. Another additional benefit of Construction Manager is that the guys can actually send the statements straight to the subcontractors as well. Again, these guys may be doing sort of this maybe to 10, 15, 20 different subcontractors a month. So if they're doing that manually, it can be sort of quite sort of long-winded. But what Construction Manager will allow them to do is basically batch send those return statements straight to the subcontractor. And the similar things applies to direct labor as well, what we just touched upon on worksheets. Instead of assigning this to a subcontractor, we will just assign it to an employee. If the guys are using Xero Payroll, if they wish that information to go across into the payroll system, they can. Or alternatively, some people like to use it sort of separately, and that's totally fine. You don't have to post it across. Now let's look at sort of the client billing element of the system. So again, what we have under the customers tab here is the ability to create applications within the system. And again, there's different ways in which the guys can create those applications. If I come onto one that I've created earlier, here I've just simply added my job. I've got my application number, but over to the right-hand side, I've put in what I'm going to be applying for to the customer. So just quite simply £1,000. So this is quite beneficial if the guys are doing sort of stage payments or interim payments. This will allow them to keep track of all of those sort of applications. Another method would be to add in the items here. And what they can do here is basically itemize out the work that they're going to be carrying out for that customer. So they don't necessarily have to put in a overall amount like I've done here. Again, it may come from a bill of quants or perhaps just maybe what the QS have created. So they can just itemize out the work within the application as well. Fundamentally, though, what they can do within the system is that they can email and print off the application straight to their customer. So let's just have a look at our one here. And again, these are just stock templates. All of these templates can be adjusted to the client sort of format. Here's just an overall sort of perspective. I can see the application for payment and the total outstanding. Again, another additional benefit is that they can attach documents to the application as well. So some of our users like to actually upload the bill of quantities alongside with that overall application for payment PDF document. So again, you have the ability to do so as well. So again, all they will need to do, click on the print email. This will allow them to configure the email within this box here. Another additional benefit of the application process within Construction Manager is that we have a color coding system to see exactly which applications are due and which ones have been certified. So the ones that are in blue are the ones that have been applied for and an application has been sent. However, we are still waiting on a certificate. So whenever the certificate lands, all the user would need to do is click on it once, click on update. Yes, they can generate a certificate. And here, all the user would be doing is just marrying up the certificate to the application. The only thing different now is that they can adjust the information, but also what they have additionally is the ability to see the tracking options and the chart of accounts in Xero, and they now have the post to accounts tab ticked. Because once it's been certified, it will generate a sales invoice, not only in Construction Manager against the job, but also across into Xero as well. So again, we'll click on save. That will then generate a sales invoice. So if we pop over to here, we can see all of the relevant invoices that have been produced. And again, what they can do within Construction Manager is quite simply print and email the invoice straight to the customer of theirs. So again, this is just a vague sort of overview and a nice little template. They can see the job description, they can see the work that needs to be carried out, various different details, but most importantly, the payment details right at the bottom. And there are a whole different types of reports surrounding the applications as well. So perhaps they may want to see what they've applied for, what's outstanding and what's been paid. They can view that via our reports at the top here. Maybe they just want to see the current applications outstanding. And what this would allow them to do is view that information. So here, let's just make that a little bit bigger. Here I can see again, across all my jobs, what I've applied for, what's been paid and what's outstanding. And again, all of these reports have different types of layout as stock, so they may want to do it by due date. Again, they will have the ability to do so as well. I will also say that these reports are completely customizable. All the guys will need to do is just use the filters at the top. So perhaps they may just want to see one sort of customer and all the applications that have been sent to them. They can just adjust that on this screen here. Another report, if I just refresh the screen here, is the good old retention report. So if I just click on reports again, I can view my outstanding retentions by clicking on my report here. And again, most of our users like to run this perhaps sort of every sort of fortnight, or maybe sort of once a year. That's once a year, that's a bit too much. Maybe once a month, I should say. And they can basically view all the outstanding retention. So bear with me one moment. Here we go, it's just opening up on this page here. And here I can quite easily see all of my customers, what I've applied for, not applied for, what the retention is, sorry, and when the retention is due as well. And again, theirs will look slightly larger than mine. I've only got sort of 2 or 3 jobs running at the moment. But again, this will basically do it according to the retention on that in particular job. So that's, again, a very sort of high level overview. So let's look at sort of where the information sits once we apply all that sort of job costing information. So what we would do is come into the contracts list. We would click on job management, and what the user can do is basically filter the dates to see how the jobs are performing within a certain time frame. So I'm just going to do across all of my jobs. I'm going to click on OK. And here it's going to show me a summary page to see how the jobs are performing. So here, quite easily, I can see all of my jobs, the description, the customer name. But with these blue and yellow boxes, I can see the sales in month and the total costs. I can also see the profit and the profit percentage. We can start to add more information onto here as well. So if I click on the columns tab here, I may want to just add in things like a classification. So if I just add that in here, the guys may want to see how their sort of commercial jobs are getting along. They can use that to filter the information. So as you can see, my commercial jobs are doing terrible. I am minus £389,000 in the whole. So again, they can view that information quite easily. They can go into a bit more detail by, again, clicking on the details tab, and this will basically categorize the information in a different sort of format. So still we've got the blue and yellow boxes, so we can see all of our sales information and our cost information, but this will allow us to go into a bit more sort of detail. So I can see things like what's already been invoiced in terms of my sales invoices. Is there any sort of sales applications that are outstanding? But also things like my purchases, plant invoices, my labor costs, subcontractor costs, but also things like my accruals, so purchase orders raised and received, but not invoiced yet, as well as any orders outstanding as well. Again, this can also be manipulated, so some elements may not be relevant to certain clients of yours, so they have the ability to dictate what is relevant and what is not, so they can just kind of take away on that information. Another nice report that people like to run within the system is the good old sort of activity by transaction report. And what this would allow them to do is view every bit of information that's been allocated to a specific job on a line-by-line basis. So again, let's just make this slightly bigger here. Let's just add in multiple pages. Again, it will still subcategorize all the information here for them. But if they scroll down, they can see perhaps all of their applications on a line-by-line basis, all of their sales invoices, purchases. So even if the things like plant invoices, orders outstanding, subcontractor costs, labor costs, they'll be able to view that in an itemized way within this PDF report built into the system. And again, that's sort of the standardized sort of reports that we have within sort of Construction Manager. But like Anthony had mentioned right at the beginning, is that we do have an ICA reporting tool, and that's just marketing's fancy way of saying intelligent construction analysis. But essentially, in a nutshell, what it is a live Excel reporting tool for the user to basically create their own bespoke reports. So what this will allow them to do is that they've got a nice little pivot table right in the middle here, and over to the right hand side they can just kind of cherry pick the information that they want to present in a reporting format. So for example, they may want the contract name, they may want their total cost as an example, followed by perhaps their budget. So let's just add that in here. They may want to make this a little bit sort of easier on the eye, so they may want to split this out via, say, project manager. So here I'm going to add in a project manager as a slicer. So again, quite easily, I've just created a little mini sort of report here. I just maybe want to see how Tim's getting along on the jobs. I can then actually highlight it like so, get a bit more fancier with it, and actually input a chart. Maybe I may want to add in a pie chart, add that in, and that will basically create a pie chart based on the information that I just cherry picked. Now, again, that's just a very sort of standard way of me just sort of creating a very basic report, but you can go into far more sort of detail. So as an example here, we had an example of where people wanted to create a chart based on revenue by classification. So they may wanted to see how certain areas are performing, whether they're commercial elements doing more than residential. They can view that within these different charts. They can also see, again, using the slices at the left-hand side, they can dictate and filter the charts accordingly. So perhaps they may want to see one customer, that will change the information. So here over to the bottom right, I can see projects that are going over budget. And again, this is entirely up to the user in terms of how and what they wanted to create. They may even want to go a step further and create sort of bespoke sort of CVR reports within the system and basically factor in a little bit more information that you don't get as a standard within Construction Manager alone. So again, with the pivot tables over to the right-hand side, it's got a lot of more information that you don't get as standard within Construction Manager. It actually picks the sort of smaller details. And as you can see, we can actually factor in things such as current estimated cost, current estimated revenue, but also things like final anticipated cost and final anticipated revenue as well. So again, it's very tailorable to the user. They can basically create their own bespoke reports. And again, this is also live. So if any information changes within Construction Manager, all the user would have to do is just click on the data, click on refresh, and that will update the report. So just going back into Construction Manager here, that is a very, very high level overview of Construction Manager. Again, there's so much more to it. But again, if you guys want to take a deeper look, by all means, we do provide sort of one-to-one demonstrations. But yeah, thank you guys for sort of listening in on that. Hopefully you find that sort of valuable. So I'm going to pass back over to Anthony at this point.
Excellent. Thanks, Jay. Right, Jay, if you could stop sharing for me and I will just put up a final slide.
Yep, perfect. There we go.
Okay. Okay, guys, so you should be able to see our contact us slide here. Thanks, Jay, there for a great run through of the Construction Manager solution. Just really finally, just to round off on today's presentation, I just wanted to put our contact details on the screen here. If you do want any further information on the Construction Manager solution, our estimating solutions, our maintenance solutions, things that we haven't covered today, please feel free to contact us. There's further information, of course, on our website. There's a link there directly to further information on our partner program as well, of course. If you do have any clients who may be interested in a bit more of a deep dive and a deeper look of Construction Manager, again, just let us know. We'll be happy to arrange a one-to-one presentation, more tailored specifically to their requirements, of course. If you would like to have a walkthrough of the software yourself, that's absolutely fine. We do provide free product tours as well. So again, do let us know. We are happy to take any inquiries, any questions that you might have. Just get in touch. But from us, thank you very much. Thank you for your time today. I'm happy to open up to any questions, David.
Yeah, thanks for that, both. That was really, really good, really informative. And it's nice to get down and practical with a really good informative demo. So thanks for that, Jay. We have had a couple of questions come through, which is good. So first of all, Cameron, I'm going to start with you in terms of, will there be access to a recording? Yes, there will. So just to confirm, we'll be doing a follow-up email after the webinar with a copy of the recording, a link to that, and then also some of the key links as well that the guys have been talking about. So that'll be within there. A couple of the other questions that have come through. Lee has sent through a couple. So first of all, what is an average implementation cost of the system?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Lee, it does depend, if I'm honest. It genuinely depends on the variant of the solution. So we've got an entry-level essential solution, which is very much plug and play, simple setup, very, very minimal. The standard and premium versions of the system might take a bit more configuration. It really does depend on the user's requirements. I'm not trying to divert from the question, but genuinely it just does depend. We do have sort of standard packages that we can provide. I'm happy to get the sales team to give you a bit more information on that. I'll be honest, Jay and I are more on product. They don't trust us with pricing and commercials. So we'll get the sales team to give you a bit more information on that, Lee, if that's okay.
Brilliant, thanks for that, Anthony. And another question from Lee actually as well was, how does Construction Manager deal with retention postings in Xero?
Yes, I made a note of that one. I've seen that one. Thanks, Lee. So the way that the posting will work is you will have an invoice posted to Xero for the gross amount of the invoice, and then there'll be an automatic credit note that will be posted to essentially a control account that will be set up, a retention control account. And quite rightly, like I think that you mentioned in your question, that control account should then reconcile directly with the retentions report created within the construction manager solution.
Brilliant, thanks. Got a question here from Alex. It's saying, would I still need to use CIS within Xero?
No, you wouldn't. So construction manager manages all of the CIS processing. So because all of the transactional entry happens within the construction manager system, up to and including invoice, I should say, all of the payments would actually still be done within Xero. But construction manager reads the payment information and creates the CIS returns for you.
Okay, that's great. And one final question that I've got through is, I've actually just seen another one from Lee, but just prior to that, can you actually create your own reports or bespoke reports within the system?
You can. So there's actually a couple of methods. So we've got the IC Excel reporting, which Jay covered. So that allows you to create your own sort of queries and develop your own reports within that Excel template. So that is one way that you can create those reports. Actually, the great thing about the Excel reports is that you can just distribute those to, let's say, non-technical users. So let's just say, for example, you have a director who maybe has no interest of actually learning how to use the system. They just want to click a button and see how the projects are performing. We could just create that Excel spreadsheet, sit that on the desktop, they open up the Excel spreadsheet, hit refresh, and it gives them the information that they need. That has a direct link to your live data. So that's one way that you can create reports. For the most standard, what I call PDF style reports, we do have a report designer. It takes a little bit more technical know-how with that. So that's something that we would manage in-house, but is certainly something that we can help with.
Sure. Thanks for that. And one final one from Lee again, and I'm not sure how much detail you're going to be able to go into this, but saying sort of how many companies do you currently have on the system, and is there anything on the roadmap, I suppose, that you can share in terms of the strategy and the long-term roadmap of the product and where you're looking to take it?
Absolutely. So the product is our main product. So I mentioned that we have a range of products that cover estimating and maintenance and so on. The construction manager product is our main focus within GNC, and has a very, very active roadmap. We release updates every single month. Directly following this webinar, I have a session with our product team where they'll be rolling out all of the changes for February. So that'll be exciting. But I do know that we have a detailed approval workflow very soon coming on the product roadmap, which is very exciting. Lots and lots of options there within approvals. There was, I believe, a lot of questions about automated invoice entry came through as well. That is also something which is on our roadmap as well, so that we can keep you up to date on that.
That's great. And thank you for that, Anthony. And thank you, everybody, for your questions as well and the interaction today. It's been really, really good. So I just want to say thanks again to Anthony, and thanks to Jay for the demonstration today. That was really, really good. Hope everybody has a good rest of your Thursday, and keep an eye out for your email. We'll get it across hopefully for the weekend with all of that detail in, and then you can go from there. So have a good rest of your day, and thanks again, everyone. Bye.